everyone, this is Ep15 and welcome to episode 14, no 15 now, right? Yeah, 15 of Ep15's Dyson Sphere program. Let's play. So last episode we got deuterium production going, right? And that was a good time all around. So we've got lots of deuterium happening now. As you can see, we've really started to fill up these two storage tanks full of deuterium. We're looping through. We will probably have multiple sets of these structures, which I'll probably just like copy and paste as time goes on. But for now, good enough. You know, it's cool. And also we've backstuffed our graphene, which is cool. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. We've got lots of graphene production happening. Not too worried about it though. We're going to need to use it at some point soon, so it's probably not a bad idea that we're producing as much as we are. That said, what I'd like to do today is start producing deuterium fuel rods. Now you'll notice that we need two things. We need those advanced titanium alloys, and we need those blue engine thingies. I always forget the name of these things. Little super magnetic rings. Now the good news is, we happen to have two slots available in our interstellar logistics system here to request items. And again, as I said, we can treat interstellar logistics stations as planetary logistics stations, so there's no reason we can't just do this and this. Set these guys to something small, like, I don't know, 200? That sounds good. And we will do local demand. Local demand. And look who's taken off. My little drones. Go have fun, guys. Go get me some stuff. Now, if you want, you could set remote to storage, which basically means if anything out in the solar system or other planets decides that they want titanium alloys for some reason, don't supply them. That's not a bad idea to set that. I mean, obviously right now, there's nothing asking for that. If I wanted to supply it to other planets or solar systems, I could. But by setting this mode here, it's kind of cool. It's kind of nice. It prevents you from accidentally doing that. I just love this game's visuals. Like, look at that cool sun coming up over here. How are we doing, by the way? Wow, we've got a lot of titanium alloy, almost 5,000 there. We're doing really good on graphene down here, which is nifty. So I'll let this thing keep cooking. What I'm thinking I might do, probably sooner than later, is get rid of this graphene production line and use these two refined oils to make more of this. So sulfuric acid, my bad, not refined oil. But we can basically nullify this. It's really not needed anymore. Like, super extra triple not needed anymore. Because, you know, we're going to have so much of that. But once we get to the point where, like, we're struggling to make enough titanium alloy, that's my plan, is to transition that. But by the time I finish talking now, we should have a couple hundred titanium alloy and super magnetic rings here, and we can feed those over to this thing. So what I'm going to do is really simple and straightforward. I'm going to make sure that that's filled in, and maybe a little bit of this. And let's get deuterium fuel rod production going. So, in order for this to happen, I think deuterium fuel rods are made in an assembler. So we can easily just place down assembly machines here. And what I'll do is something along these lines. Let's run the things out of here so we can kind of know what direction they're coming. Like that. So we'll get that cooking. While we're here, are there any upgrades I could do that would be super cool? I think I want a better energy circuit. Yeah, let's activate that. Might as well research stuff. Might as well not research. Hey, wait. None. For now. Remember I was feeding resources in earlier? Yeah, so that filter was still there. That's why that happened. Not a big deal. Okay, so now that we know how you're going to be lined up, let's get a couple of these. You know what? I could upgrade these guys. There's no reason not to do Mark IIs with this. And this. And then your job will be... you know, I'm going to cancel you real quick. Because I want to copy-paste the things. But your job will be to make deuterium fuel rods. Okay, so you're going to be this, this, and this. Now, if I were to put one line here, you could probably export your fuel rods like so. Okay. Boop and boop. There. Works for me. I really need to automate these things. I'm just saying it would be cool to do. What's this? Hydrogen? I don't need that. Erase litter. Cool. So you guys are feeding that in, and that looks good. Now let's get these resources out of here. So let's just go over to the filters and specify you're going to export that, and you're going to export this. And how great is this little island set up here for deuterium production, huh? How cool is this? I'm loving it. Now, how's my power situation at the moment? Satisfaction's good. We're very happy on satisfaction. So I want to start accumulating deuterium fuel rods because I want to use them instead of energetic graphite. Let's put like 4 energetic graphite in here. So what's my 1.8 megawatts of fuel power gen is what I've got going on here, right? Let's start storing these. Okay, and I don't want to go crazy, so I'm going to store, like, you know, a little bit for now. We'll probably expand this in the future, right? So if we were to look in our core power gen, what was it again? They don't last long. 1.8 megawatts of fuel gen, okay? And I can void you because you're literally unlimited. Oh boy, that's not what I wanted. Stop doing whatever you're doing. Oh, 4.8 megawatts. Okay, cool. Yeah, so, hey, look. Deuterium fuel rods. Neat. And look how long they last. So first off, generates more power per second, like 4 times? Wasn't it 1.2 a second ago? So that's amazing, right? Does that tell me that here? 300% fuel chamber gen efficiency versus 50% fuel chamber gen efficiency. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. And the amount of energy is 600 megajoules instead of 6.75 megajoules. So in other words, these deuterium fuel rods are going to last a really long time. Any questions? Probably not. So I don't think I need to carry graphite around anymore. So we're going to let this process, and we'll come back in a minute to get ready for today's episode of Automation and Fun. Alright guys, so I think the thing I want to start working towards today will be solar sails. So solar sails are neat. They are objects we can shoot into space. They'll start going around the sun, and they will collect solar energy from the sun and beam it back to our planet, and it'll hit this ray receiver here, which will convert that into energy. Now, there are upsides and downsides to solar sails. The upside is that they are really efficient at generating power and really cool to see. The downside is that they are temporary. They only last for about 5,400 seconds by default, which is about an hour and a half. Now, as you may or may not have noticed, there are solar sail life cycle upgrades, which we can eventually amp up so that they last longer. Now, solar sails will also play a role in building a Dyson sphere itself. And once we get to the Dyson sphere, solar sails will go into the Dyson sphere, and those solar sails will last forever, which is great. So it's up to you if you're going to build a large Dyson swarm, is what it's called. And a Dyson swarm is just a whole bunch of solar sails floating around the sun. Now, in order for that energy to reach the planet, we're going to need a ray receiver. This is a building that's going to live on the planet that will receive energy from the solar sails. The other thing we need from solar sails is going to be an EM rail ejector. This is a machine that will launch the solar sails off the planet towards the sun so that they can start you know, doing stuff. So let's kick off this research. And what we're going to need in order to make solar sails are these photon frequency conversion doohickeys. Now, you'll note that there's 2 ways to make these. One with just glass and one with a neat crystal you can find out and about in the world. So that is not a great benefit, right? Because those prisms are pretty cheap and easy to make. So what we're going to do is take prisms and circuits and make ourselves some of these photon consumer dudes. So we should automate this somewhere. Now, where is absolutely a good question. Not 100% sure where I want to automate this at. There's a couple ways we can tackle this problem that we have right now. Like, obviously, we already have some prisms going on. So we could, like, tap into this line. Now, did I have circuits down here? I don't know that I did. We have a few... We're close to having what we need for circuits. We're close to having what we need for circuits. You know, so we could absolutely tap into our existing prism manufacturers. That's currently mostly going towards making plasma exciters, which we don't need a huge amount of right now. And then we just need some circuits, which would require some iron down here to combine with our copper to make circuits. Those are pretty easy. Or we could start looking at being a little bit more logistical with how we do things. And we could start building, like, logistic stations for the purpose of this, right? So one thing we could do, which is probably not a terrible idea. Hey, good, solar sails are ready. Nice. While we're at it, let's kick off the ray receiver as well. Let's get that researched so that we're ready for that piece too. So what we could set up down here, potentially, is something that will act as a bit of a storage and logistical routing thing. So I'm thinking about how I want to build this. All right, ray receiver research complete. Awesome. One thing I think I'm going to do real quick is set up and this may or may not be permanent. I haven't quite decided how I want this to be permanent or not. But effectively what I'd like to do is I'd like to feed these tier 1 materials into a logistics building so that they're available for my, you know, logistics world setup thing. So if I were just to pop this dude right here, boom, and then let's clear this up so that we can do, are these Mark 1 belts, all these guys? Yeah, they are. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of feed this like so. And then you're going to accept these, the circuits, and the gears, and supply mode. And I'm going to set you, I mean, 5,000. Why not? Let's just have a bunch of it. That looks cool. A little bit of power for you. A little bit of drones for you. And you'll supply these to the planet for us. Now, if we wanted to, we could also upgrade these machines so that you run a little bit faster. And that may necessitate, we'll find out, I guess. Are you good up? Yeah, you're outputting just fine. You could use some faster outputting. And I assume you could as well. Yeah, that works. Cool. And then if we wanted to, we could even expand these. So if it turned out we needed more circuits, like, you know, easy peasy, right? Relatively easy peasy. So let's actually, we know that this guy, I can probably get rid of him entirely. And then I'm going to run you like this. Clear these dudes out. And I'm just going to give you some of the extra of this stuff that I don't super duper need right now. Trying to keep my inventory organized. Cool. Is that a little bit better looking? So now we've got circuits being made available to the logistics network, right? And of course, this thing's gonna relatively prioritize. Maybe we'll upgrade these guys a little bit more. Getting this stuff over to these blue thing makers, right? So priority 1, making blue research cubes so that we can keep research going. Priority 2 will be filling up this thing so that our network has access to some of the tier 1 components that we want, right? I think that sounds like a good plan. And we'll probably, like I said, expand this bigger as the game goes on. Because at some point, having 2 circuit producers is going to be nowhere near enough. But now that we've got circuits being made available, we could also do something similar for prisms, maybe? That would be cool. Or we could just make the prisms on site. So I think that sounds like a good plan. So let's just review what we need for solar sails. You ready? In order to make solar sails, we need photon combiners, which needs prisms and circuits. Okay? So we can import the circuits on the logistics network. We can make the prisms on site. We will make the photon combiners on site. We will import graphene, and then we will export solar sails. So import circuit, import graphene, export solar sail. We need 3 slots. So that means we can get away with using a planetary logistics station rather than an interplanetary logistics station. If we needed 5 slots, or 4 for that matter, we would use interstellar. Even though it's only local to the planet, we would use interstellar because then we could have everything going into one building, right? But I don't think we need that, so that's what we're going to do. So let's set that up somewhere near an iron vein. Like, I don't know, right here. Does that sound cool? Sounds cool to me. Whee. Looks pretty nice. Okay. So then what we'll do is we'll plop down you. Okay. We'll set up a couple miners. Cool. And then your job will be to smelt. And we'll decide how many of these we need. But basically your job will be to smelt into glass from stone. Right? And then what's the ratio on this? Like, how many smelters to these dudes do we need? Right? So you're making 22.5 operations per minute, and you need 3. So 22.5 times 3 is... That's a weird number, right? Am I wrong? 67.5? Is that right? Yeah, 67.5. And then you are making 30 glass per minute. Okay. But if I upgraded you to a Mark II... just for giggles, you'd be making 30 per minute, so you need 90. And you're making 30 per minute. So it's 3 smelters to 1 Mark II. 3 smelters to 1 Mark II. Now, I think I can downgrade you, can't I? I guess I can, but it doesn't remember the recipe, which is funny. But all the orders stay in place, so that's cool. Alright, so 3 smelters to 1 Mark II. So that's how we'll build this out, right? Maybe I don't want this to be here. Maybe I want this like this. Is that cool? Looks cool. Okay. And then where should I dump you? I think what I could do is we could do something like this for the exports. How's that sound? Yes, is good. Seems good to me. And then we'll just 3 to 2, or 3 to 1 I mean it was, right? Okay, and then we'll have a Mark II of this be right here, and your job will be to make prisms. Okay, and you will make them by importing this with the Mark II importer. And then exporting like so. And that should be perfectly balanced now. Now, this, it may turn out that we want more of these prisms, so then we just copy-paste this structure, like so, and we're good to go another batch of those. Cool? So now let's set up this guy, and again, I'm going to put my 10 drones in here. Now, if you wanted to, you could set up these logistic stations so that like only the providers have drones or only the receivers. Whatever, just put drones in. It'll figure itself out. So we wanted to bring in circuit boards, and we wanted to bring in graphene, right? And let's do like 500-ish of each. So demand and demand. And then boom, we've got all that coming in. How cool is that? Nice? Yes, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so now what I'm gonna do, and by the way, I've flipped it so the prisms are up here. What I'm gonna do is tap into these prisms to make the solar sails, right? So solar sails is a combination of these, well, first off, we need to make this thing, the photon combiners, right? So let's math up what that looks like. Okay, so your job will be to output circuits. Okay, so you're gonna get that. Okay, so you're gonna make 20 per minute, and you need 2, so we need 40 per minute of these, right? And we're making 2 at a time, which is 30 per minute. So we're making 60, and we need 40. Am I correctly? We need 40 here, we're making 60 here, because we make 2 at a time, right? So if we wanted to balance this out, it should be 2 to 3 of these, right? So what I should have is something like this. Which means that I should realistically have 3 more of these dudes, right? Because I want to be prepared for, you know, all the things. Cool. And then we will have the 2. I already forgot what I said the math was. But I think it's 2 of these. Making these guys. Cool. And then 3 of these. So I'll make sure you're not being stupid here. Good. So let's do this and this. And then where do I want you to output to would be my question. So your job would be these things, right? So this should be the right ratio of builders. Let's have you output to the top. I like that. Maybe going in this direction? Because then we can circle back, right? So that should be cool. So now if I copy you here and there, cool. So now those guys are making these photon combiners that we need. And then we will take those photon combiners and turn them into solar sails. So let's see what the ratio we need for that is, right? I'm just going to manually throw some of this in, and then this. Does that sound cool? So you're making 15 per minute, you need 1 of these per minute, right? So we're making how many of these per minute? 20 per minute? And you need 15. So that's 60, and that's 15, so 4 of these is what we can do. 4 of these, if my math is correct. Can I run you here? I can. Beautiful. And then your job will be to export these dudes. Okay. And then you will put solar sails here, which will effectively go into there. And then you should have solar sails as a supplier. Cool. So I said 4 of these should be doable. Lack of item. Cool. And now that should be the appropriate ratio of stuff. And we've got, now we're producing 60 solar sails per minute. Times 2, though. Times 2. So we're making 120 solar sails per minute. We can validate that, by the way, down here somewhere. Solar sail per minute. Let's look in the last minute. It should bump up to 120-ish once a whole minute goes by. Right? Because we have to, like, average it all out over the course of a minute. So, hey, solar sail production. That's cool. All nice and compact. So this is the beauty of using... Remember how much I told you would love planetary logistics? Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Now, it looks like I may not be getting enough stone. No, I think I'm pretty good on stone. Pretty good on stone, but I really want to make sure that I'm super good on stone. So let's, you know, be really careful about making sure we're extra good on stone. Cool. Just to be safe. Just to be safe. But that should be pretty groovy. And then eventually we'll fill up on solar sails. Alright, next up, we're going to want to make ourselves the ray receiver. So we're going to need some silicon to make that. Luckily I can snag some, because I've got thousands of it. Okay, so let's get a ray receiver, our very first one. And let's get a couple solar sail launchers. So EM rail ejectors, I'm going to start with like 5 of these bad boys. That sounds like a good time. And then while I'm up here near my main resources, I'm going to restock on everything. And then let's also drop some things that we know we don't need to have in our inventory anymore. Let's clean up some trash. Let's clean up a little bit of trash. Okay, so you're full. You actually have a little bit extra circuits. And gears, we could fill up on gears. Okay. Sweet. So now, ray receivers and transmitters. Effectively speaking, if I remember correctly, both of these should have line of sight to the sun if you want them to fire, to launch and work. I think, if I remember correctly. So I've already got some basic solar panels on my North Pole, so how about we fly down to the South Pole? Which is right about here-ish. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in decoration mode, because why not? Sweet. All right, now let's check out the Dyson Sphere program section has unlocked here. We can place down our very first ray receiver. Dun 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 dun.
You built a ray receiver, which can receive the high-energy rays transmitted from the Dyson Sphere and directly input them to the power grid. However, caused by the ray receiving efficiency, the ray receiver's requested power will be larger than the documented output power of the Dyson Sphere. You can keep it working or upgrade technologies to increase the ray receiving efficiency.
Cool. So ray receiver efficiency is how efficient the transmission of energy from the solar sails to this structure is. Now, there is definitely an upgrade process for that. Ray transmission efficiency, and that all looks cool. So let's like kick off this one and see what that changes. It says minus 10% ray energy dissipation, but like it's currently 70, so I think it'll be plus 7 effectively. The way this percentage worked was a little funny. Also note the metrics over here. Solar ray basic energy dissipation. So it's 70% energy loss at the moment, but minus 10 will make this 63% energy loss. And then minus another 10, and then minus another 10, and then minus another 10, and then minus another 10. And then I think this is the one that you can do an infinite amount, and it'll infinitely reduce by 15, but like it just gets closer and closer to 0, right? So keep that in mind. It's a thing that you want to be aware of. So now we're ready to receive, look at that, energy, which is pretty stinking cool. Let's... So the one thing that's tricky is getting like some good, you know, evenness up here at the poles, but we'll make it happen. So I think what I want to do is maybe in this box here is where we'll start with our ray receivers. Does that sound cool? And this is basically
an EM rail ejector.
that.
You have taken the first step to build the Dyson sphere. Now you can use it to send solar sails into space for forming the Dyson swarm. Each EM rail ejector requires to set up orbit and supply with solar sails. Also, you can use copy and paste to set orbits. If you want a Dyson swarm orbit become more diversified, you can click the Dyson sphere button in the lower left corner of the screen to open the Dyson sphere panel. Make your customization however you want.
Yes, so I'll explain what that means.
You can click the replicator button at the bottom right of the screen to open the panel and manually replicate these items.
I'm gonna go get them though. Thanks, guy. Look, he's an AI. He's not that smart. Nah, I don't want to do that. Speaking of not being smart. Alright, cool. So hey, ray receiver work mechanism. There's a whole tutorial on how this works. But we're going to talk about it ourselves in a minute. Let's run, we're going to want more AUR, huh? That should be good. Let's run some power lines down here, right? That should be cool. And we're just heading towards this pole. And I'm not going to be, like, perfect with my power line runs. They don't have to be too nutty. And look, the ray receiver itself is also, like, basically a power line. So keep that in mind. Too close to the EM rail ejector. There's a way to make this groovy. EM rail ejector needs a nice little bit of... Is there like nope? Do I have to use... I don't think so. Oh, because you're... Yeah, that's why. I'm using the wrong things. I was like, I don't think I have to be... Let's make sure that we've got this lined up properly. So if I start here and click... So each rail ejector needs a decent distance because you'll find very quickly that it's going to be launching things into orbit. And you need like a decent separation between them. So you can't build anything too close to them. Or like the EM cannon's going to shoot into it. It's not a good time. So I think what I can do... I want to see if there's like a good way to... cover both of these guys. We might need them to be a little bit closer. just for the sake of that. Okay, that looks good. Okay, cool. So that's step 1. Step 2 is we're probably going to want to bring some solar sails down here. So I'm just building this dude right here. I'm going to have you request a handful of solar sails. Let's get like just 100 for now. I'm going to have this be a much larger request, but I just want to have like a little temporary bit here just to demonstrate this. Now, we are unfortunately reaching the wrapping up point for the episode. So I think what I'm going to do is leave you guys hanging. Ha ha ha. Cliffhanger. And we'll come back next episode and investigate how these EM rail ejectors work. Because as you can see, there's a whole thing. There's a whole big thing that we're going to need to set up for our Dyson sphere and our Dyson swarm. So, what we're going to set up next episode is a Dyson swarm. And that's going to be a bunch of solar sails orbiting the sun, transmitting energy back to this dude. And look, the ray receiving efficiency is at 37% now. So basically, you know, every tier of efficiency is a little bit better, but not that much better than the last one. So I'm going to say you could queue... We'll leave things as they are. That should be good. We'll kick off this one, and then we'll come back next episode and investigate solar Dyson swarm stuff, because it's going to be cool. All right, guys. That was my signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.